Then I do the du-du-du-du-du-du when there's a dramatic scene. Nothing like a deadline. These are hard questions.
Are they?
No. Sometimes it's dead serious, sometimes it's dead funny. Get lung surgery, you nearly die. It's not a get rich quick scheme. Do the music that you love most. Kia ora, I'm William Philipson and I'm here at Composer Corner. Happy to be chatting to you today. So I work professionally in screen music and it's my day job and it's also my passion, and I feel very lucky to kind of be able to do what I love doing full time and all the time, which is such a privilege and such a amazing thing. I think I've always been fascinated by stories, and when I first went to university, I kind of couldn't decide if I wanted to be a filmmaker or if I wanted to be a musician, maybe playing in a rock band or something. And then it was a bit of a kind of putting the pieces together moment when I kind of realized that I could do both. I could do music in film, and so I could be a filmmaker, storyteller, and also a musician at the same time. Kind of put my two greatest passions into one thing. And so from that moment, I kind of thought, I think I'll do that. Yeah, probably a couple. For film, I mean, I grew up at the early 2000s height of Lord of the Rings coming out, and I was probably too young to be watching those movies, but I was, and I was reading all the books and devouring everything I can, and just kind of being so kind of blown away by the fact that people in New Zealand, in my city, were making that. I probably watched the behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings more than I watched the actual movies. As a child, I wasn't particularly interested in music, and then when I turned about 12, I first heard Metallica, and I was like, something clicked, and I went out, convinced my mum to get me a electric guitar, and from that moment on, it was like just breathing music. I studied film and music at Victoria University of Wellington, and I had a number of really kind of inspiring and generous music teachers along the way. I then did my master's really focusing on film scoring at the New Zealand School of Music, and I ended up interning with a local Wellington composer, Tane up John Beatson. It was kind of when I met him that I kind of realised, hang on, there are people who are living as screen music composers in the city. They're not all in LA. And so Tane became this kind of mentor figure as well as a friend. And he took me on after I graduated for a couple of hours a week for about a year to kind of do assistant jobs for him. And that's really how it started. I was doing as many short films as I possibly could get my hands on, ones made by fellow students or 48-hour film festival, that kind of thing. Then I kind of ended up connecting with more people. I did a lot of working as a composer's assistant and working as a kind of music editor on a lot of kind of indie productions. And really, I think that's the best way to learn is you make your own stuff, but then you also learn from the people who have been doing it for a while, and it's definitely the best way to learn. And then I did Pro Tools editing for the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra on their recording of Claire Cowan's Hansel and Gretel ballet back in 2020. Claire took me on to work on her TV show One Lane Bridge as a music editor, and that's how I got into TV. Really, everything I've learned was really from working on One Lane Bridge and seeing what she did. That was an incredible experience. And then somehow found my way on Shortland Street. I'm still puzzled as to how it happened. For a bit of a chance meeting, I ended up on a Zoom call with Sam Watson, who's the composer before me. And I think I talked his ear off a little bit about how cool his job was. He left to move to Europe at the beginning of the year, and I was one of the people he contacted. It's still a bit of a puzzlement why, because I had never met him in person, but I guess I just was at the right point in my career and I had the right experience and I was obviously keen, but I kind of gave my pitch of what I would like, what the kind of thing I'd do, and they seemed to like it, and so they brought me on. I'm still kind of working it out and To be honest, when I didn't think I'd get the role. I thought it was a bit of a long shot, and it was amazing that I had been reached out to and was being included in the conversations. We do 5 episodes a week, which obviously is a lot of content. At the beginning of the week, I receive the 5 episodes that I'll do, and I watch them down, and I kind of make notes of all the places where I think there should be music, and that kind of gives me my checklist for the week of all the places I need to do. And then the rest of the week is kind of spent going by scene to scene, writing that. Yeah, there's a lot of just kind of, as a viewer, what am I feeling? What do I think needs to be here? There's no time to get in other musicians and have recording sessions and stuff, so it's all me. I use a lot of synthesizers, I use a lot of sample libraries, and I also play all the guitars and the cello on the show. So it's all using the resources that I have available to me. By the next Monday, I send them off to Oliver Driver, the showrunner, and he reviews them and gives notes. And then I've got a day to work through any notes that I might have, and then I send it off to Elijah at TVNZ, who does the mix, and it airs about 2 weeks after that. Yeah, I think that there was a little bit of experimentation at the beginning of finding out how to fit it into the day and how to work. I'm not starting from a blank page anymore. I've got themes for my main characters. I've got this kind of huge amount of material that I've developed over the last 100 episodes that allows me to kind of keep going back and rearranging things and reworking stuff. I think one thing that's really cool about Short and Street is that sometimes it's a drama, sometimes it's a comedy, sometimes it's action, sometimes it's dead serious, sometimes it's dead funny. You don't get bored of it because you can always kind of push it somewhere else or explore within it. There's no time for writer blocks. You've got to trust your first idea, and if it's not working, you kind of move on. There has been many times where I kind of do a final check over on Monday before I send it off, throwing out a cue and putting something else in there, or realizing actually the scenes works better without music. Learning to overcome writer's block is a skill. It's something that you learn. I remember struggling with that at the beginning. You can't wait for inspiration. There's just no time for that. If I don't have a fun idea, I go, oh, it's a Chris scene. What can I do to Chris's theme to make it work? And if you're not sure what that scene needs, that's probably a bigger problem, right? Like, if the scene doesn't have a clear emotion or a clear thing that's saying, then what are you trying to say with the music? So you kind of should have an idea when you mark a scene going, oh, I want to put music here. There should be a purpose for that. You're not just adding music for no reason. Nothing like a deadline. Yeah, you've got to learn by going out and doing it. And this is why the 48-hour film festival or even just getting some friends together is really the way to learn. Sometimes in my own personal projects, they can stretch on for ages because there's no one telling me they need to be delivered here. And so, yeah, deadlines are great. Yeah, so that was when I last went up to Auckland. I got to be an extra on set and be a patient who needed to be resuscitated by Madonna and Maeve. And yeah, it was a fun experience. I think most of the crew have been on behind the camera, in front of the camera, sorry, at some point or another. One of the reasons I was up in Auckland is I kind of wanted to feel a bit more part of the show, get a bit of inspiration by kind of chatting to people, and kind of be amongst it. And it's very exciting being on set and seeing it's a real set. It's really cool seeing all the walls moving around and the illusion of it, and how it's kind of these pieces that move around rather than being a hospital. Was asking them, oh, do you have any like little extra things where I could be in the background for? And they were like, if you come in on Thursday at this time and Tuesday at this time and this other time, you can get lung surgery, you can nearly die, you can be the cliffhanger, and don't worry, there are no lines. And so it was just so much fun kind of being there, seeing the other side of it, seeing it before it kind of comes to me, and meeting some of the actors, and it was great fun. Yeah, it's good vibes. I'm honestly just so impressed by the Short and Street actors. is they get 2 takes maybe, and they film all the angles at the same time. They just do it. So while I was struggling to act as an unconscious person, these people were just doing it, and they're just such professionals, and they're all lovely and so kind, and it was pretty amazing. Yeah, Observations 1 and 2 was a really special project for me. Its origin was with a friend of mine who I worked on a film together back in 2020 or 2019. And Val was a Ukrainian filmmaker, and she moved back to the Ukraine just before the invasion and the crisis over there happened. And basically, what happened is we were staying in contact and we were talking, and I was kind of struggling to express it was awful. It was, but she said if she kind of invited me to write some music about it, and we talked a lot about music and how she felt in the experiences she had being in Ukraine during the invasion. And initially, I didn't really know how to approach it. It was a very kind of, I kind of felt like I didn't really have much to say because I was so far away and I didn't really know anything, and all I was kind of seeing was these things coming from social media, and some of them from a friend of mine, which kind of changed it. And eventually I kind of realized that was my perspective, was as an observer. Observations, this kind of feeling of like just sadness and kind of trying to reach out and offer support and solidarity and that kind of thing. And while these thoughts were kind of ruminating, I had the opportunity with Chamber Music New Zealand to do some workshopping with a string quartet. And I just had, totally unrelated to this, just some ideas of kind of textures I were thinking about with string players, and we got to play around with them for a weekend. And at the time, these were totally unrelated, but I remember thinking during that, oh, Val would like these sounds. They're just like what she was talking about, because she was listening to a lot of composers like Johann Johansson and these kind of, they have a certain aesthetic and sound. And I was thinking like Val would like this. And so then I kind of realized I could put these together, and then I brought it down to the Nelson Composers Workshop, and had a really positive response. So I thought, I better get this recorded, and I better send it to Val, and so we got some players from the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra and re-recorded it, and my friend Luke Ross did an incredible video of it at Stella Marie Chapel in Miramar. And really happy with the results, and really happy that's kind of out there and people listening to it. Yeah, it was quite lovely, and it was nice having a thing to collaborate over again. Like, it kind of took me back to working on the documentary we did together. Um, yeah, I felt really good that there was something that I could kind of do to kind of say something that my kind of words couldn't. It was just like, I'm your friend, and I'm here for you and stuff. And and she was really positive about it and sent some really, really lovely messages, and was very involved in the release of it as well. She found the Ukrainian artist whose artwork we used for the kind of cover, which was really magical. Yeah, it was really special. Yeah, so it's available on all streaming platforms, so your Spotify's, your Apple Music. But the really lovely video that Luke did of all the players playing it is on YouTube. Our videographer for Observations 1 and 2, who made the beautiful film of it, Luke Ross, we collaborated again on a documentary that he made for Someday Stories called The Generation Gardener. But we've actually worked together quite a lot. We actually grew up together, been on a bunch of 48-hour films together. I scored his previous documentary, Our Money, last year. And yeah, so really happy to come collaborate with him again on The Generation Gardener. A beautiful little film which is available on RNZ and Māori television and YouTube. And it's a documentary about a local bonsai artist. For the music, which I ended up writing on weekends while I was working on Shortland Street, was a really fun project because I got to do the thing that I don't get to do on Shortland Street, which is collaborate with other musicians. I know this wind player, Josh Buckler, who is just this incredible clarinet and other instrument player. And I kind of reached out to him and said, would you be interested in playing clarinet on a short film? And he said, yes, that sounds fun. I wanted his magic to kind of be the glue, and I just wrote a bunch of melodies and ideas, and kind of just sketched out really basically where in the film I'd kind of want these, and then I kind of showed them to Josh, and we recorded various kind of takes on them. So I didn't include any phrasing, I didn't include any dynamics. We just kind of talked about it and kind of had a fun day where we kind of played lots of different versions, and he was full of suggestions. What if I play this down an octave? What if I slur this here? He would add in a few little frills and kind of little phrases and stuff. And so it was kind of quite collaborative in that way. And then at the end of the day, I just kind of had this treasure trove of awesome interpretations. And so I kind of chose my favorite ones, cut it all together, and then I wrote the rest of the arrangement around it. So then I recorded all the guitar. Well, then I wrote all the guitars and all the everything. And so it was a way of kind of making Josh the thing that everything hinges around. I just think knowing that it's possible and that you can do this, and success doesn't mean, writing music to Star Wars in LA. You can, there are so many filmmakers out there in Wellington making cool projects, and just my advice is just do as much of it as you can, and the reward is the work. I think if you want to do film music, you've got to love film music. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a vehicle for your other music that you love more. Do the music that you love most, and if you love it, and don't let anyone tell you you can't do it, and just create. Yeah, so the Screen Music and Sound Guild of New Zealand is the kind of collective group that I'm part of, and I'm on the committee, and so we run a whole lot of great programs. Last year we had the composer for the new Avatar movie come, which was such an exciting thing. I can't believe we had Simon Fraglin come. But then we also did something for the 21st anniversary of Fellowship of the Ring, and we had a lot of the people who worked on the sound of music, a lot of New Zealanders who kind of worked on that side of things come and talk. So these kind of events are great, but we also have mentorship programs for young members and just emerging members of any age, and kind of put them in touch with a lot of people. We also kind of want to protect screen workers, make sure that they're not being taken advantage of. We have contracts available on our website for screen music work and sound work, so that if you need a contract, we've got you covered. I would encourage all young or emerging or established composers or soundies in film to get in touch with the Screen Music and Sound Guild of New Zealand and become a member and add your voice to it, and yeah, there's a lot of support there and a lot of opportunities to meet like-minded people. I think we're, as a bunch, we kind of exist in our little offices or our little rooms, kind of tinkering away, making sounds and music. And so it's good to kind of have that community and have a collective voice and be able to voice concerns, but also hang out and talk about plugins, which sometimes we all want to do. Yeah, absolutely. So for the Screen Music and Sound Guild, search them up and you'll find their website where you can become a member, and the Screen Music and Sound Guild Facebook page or other social media pages. As for my own stuff, Shortland Street is TV2, 7 p.m. weeknights, also on TVNZ on demand. I've just released the music for the Generation Gardener on streaming platforms and YouTube, and you can find the film on YouTube as well. I've got quite a lot of music and various soundtracks floating around out there on Spotify and on Apple Music, so give me a follow on Spotify.